Hi, and welcome to the 28-day Kick My Asana challenge. My name is Melanie Dawn, and I'll be the teacher that guides you through the whole 28 days. It's my goal as a teacher to bring the inner teacher in you awake. I am not with you in the room. I can't be there to see how you move inside the postures. So I'm going to be verbally cueing you as much as I can to go inward and decide, is this for me or is this going to bring me pain? So there's a practice inside of yoga that is a himsa, and that's non-harming. So we don't want this practice to harm us in any way. And for some of us, that can get confused with discomfort. Discomfort is good. Discomfort is where we grow, but pain and suffering is not where we're gonna grow. So if you are in pain, I want you to back out, and if you've lost your breath, I want you to back out. And you're gonna have to be the one guiding yourself to, is this for me or is this not? Throughout the course of the 28 days, as a yogi, I noticed that everything is about moving forward. We pay so much attention to what's happening in front of us and not what's behind us. And what's behind us is actually the foundation, the stability that supports us. So this 28 days is going to be focused on glutes, back, and core. You'll get an overall full body workout throughout the 28 days, but you will notice that your glutes start to become a lot stronger. And I'll cue you into that too, because many times our glutes aren't even activated inside of yoga poses. Let me tell you a little bit about me quickly before we start. I've been teaching yoga for almost a decade now, and I live in the foothills of Alberta. I really love doing group work, communal breath. So being in your breath, even though you may be by yourself, really try to encourage yourself to have a nice, strong breath, because breathing is where we find all of our energy, where we find our life force. I am a very human yogi, so I like still red meat, wine, all the things that are human, I take part in, and my practice slips and slides just like yours may. So if you're a strong yogi coming in, know that you can modify this in any way, add on. We'll do this in week chunks where we kind of work on one peak posture for a week, and I'll add on different variations that you can do inside that posture. So it's kind of fun, you know. We can get really serious. RBF is a real thing inside a yoga room. So try to have some fun while still maintaining a strong and steady breath. But glutes is going to be the biggest focus. Back, core, shoulder strength. You will have a full body workout and also a mental, emotional cleanse at the same time if you are staying in your breath. So each practice is going to attempt to be made under 30 minutes. If you can make that commitment to yourself, pop it in your calendar, maybe place it in the morning. It's so good to start your day with yoga in the morning. You just feel connected and whole throughout the day. Hopefully this works out for you. There are prizes, so stick with us if you're doing this in real time. Let's come onto our backs, place the soles of your feet together, knees fall wide and away, and then we'll come all the way down onto the spine. This posture is called Supine. Once you settle in, you may notice that your shoulders have wrapped up around your ears. You want to draw the shoulder blades down your back body, roll your palms open, and rest your arms against the earth. An option to have your eyes closed here if you have a safe enough place to practice in, to close your eyes and drop into where the breath is landing inside your body. And now see if you can pull it a little further down the torso into the low belly. And if you're having a really hard time connecting to your breath, which if you're new to yoga, you could be completely disconnected from your breath, and there's no shame in that. We really aren't taught to stay aware of it. You can take one hand and place it down on your low belly and just try to center your breath around the palm of your hand. And so the center of your breath being the fullest, biggest part of the breath where your body expands. And then you'll take your hands to the outside of the thighs, bring the knees in to touch. Heel toe your feet to the outside edges of your mat and let your knees fall into center. You might want to lengthen the spine so that the low spine lays flat down on your mat as the knees aim towards each other, creating a nice triangle shape between the points of the knees, shins, and floor. And this internal rotation here, we'll do our breath work. So big, full breath in, filling all the way up. Take it in as deeply as you can and then hold at the top. Full exhale. Find your natural breath. Next, inhale, big sip of breath in through both nostrils, down the throat, into the belly, expanding in all four directions. Hold once you're full. This is breath retention, Kumbhaka, my favorite pranayama. If we're allowed to have favorites as yogis, still holding. And then a big exhale, release. This last big round of breath, I want you to notice how much tension is inside the body as you breathe in and hold, and then what that tension feels like inside your body as you exhale and release. Typically on the exhale as we release, that's where we can find space to go deeper with each posture inside of yoga. So you'll use the exhale to go deeper, the inhale to create space. Last big breath in, fill all the way up. You might think you're full, hold at the top. See if you can take another breath into the upper portion of the lung and then hold. And double exhale out like this. Now we'll extend the left leg out straight to the base of the mat and hug your right knee to the outside of your rib cage. Feet are flexed here. We're going to be doing a yang practice for all of the days. So feet flexed throughout practice time. This is indicating the body that I'm here to practice. My energy levels are high. I'm engaged and aware. Each exhale, maybe taking your knee a little deeper down to the outside of the rib cage, making sure that you're not squeezing the lung in any way so that you can breathe fully, completely, inhales and exhales. And from half wind removing pose, we'll be going into a supine twist. This is a pretty deep twist for this early in practice. So don't go too deep, but take your left hand to the outside of your bent knee and then right arm will drop out. Right shoulder stays where it is. It wants to be rooted into the ground. And that's really how you know how deep you're about to go. So take your left hand and cross your knee over midline to the point where your right shoulder starts to lift. Mine's already lifting, I'm not that far. And then come back, drop the shoulder down into your mat, into the earth, and then hold there where the shoulder's heavy, feet are flexed, and your spine is in a gentle twist. The deeper you breathe, the more you're cleansing the organ body. You can feel this, and I know science doesn't support this for whatever reason, but I can feel it in my body. I know it's doing something to my organ body, and the way I go to the bathroom after is guaranteeing it. And I'm gross. Come back to center, drop your right hip down. So some of you are gonna be able to go into this easily, and some are gonna be working at this. So you can come back into half wind removing pose with the hands wrapped over the shin, Or you can kick your heel up towards the sky, stacking it over your right knee, maybe taking a grip at the back of the thigh, or if you have lots of flexibility through the hamstring, you might take an inside or outside grip of the foot. And all of those are valid. We're really just looking for where the most sensation is happening on the back of the thigh. And where you're breathing. So if you look like me, but you're holding your breath, you're gonna wanna do something a little different, still getting that same sort of tug and pull through the back of the leg. And then I'm gonna take a bend through my left knee, plant the foot down onto my mat, cross my right ankle over left thigh for a reclined figure 4. Hands will either stay alongside body, palms pressed down, and you're driving your right knee towards the bottom of your mat, opening into the right hip. If you have space, some of you will take your hands to the back of the left thigh and come into a thread the needle. You can use your right elbow to press that bent knee forward. And then full happy baby, or I'll show you the modification first. So unwinding the hands if they're there, you'll take your knees to the outsides of the rib cage. So both knees are nestled nicely just outside of its rib cage. And this is a reclined child's pose or a modified happy baby. And going into a full happy baby would look like heels coming over knees and hands coming to inside or outside arch grip. Just depends where works for your body. We're all so different. If you do hands at soles of the feet, you're putting tension. So soles of the feet into the palms of the hands into the soles of the feet. Breathing for 3. And last breath. Releasing right foot, planting your right foot down onto your mat, crossing left ankle over right thigh, figure 4. Maybe you want to come into thread the needle on this side. So all the same sort of things you're doing. Maybe you're wrapping your hands, maybe you're not. Feet stay flexed, left knee pressing forward and away from the heart. Right leg extends to the base of the mat, and you can always keep a bend in it too if the straight leg isn't supporting you, your hip flexors are a bit tight, and finding half happy baby, inside arch or outside arch grip of left sole of the foot or back of the thigh. Half wind removing pose, hands wrap left shin, knee is guided to outside of left rib cage. Shoulders are not tight. There's no tension happening across the shoulders. You should be getting a lot of length through the shoulders, especially if you're tight. Right hand to outside of left knee. Left arm drops out shoulder height. Feel your left shoulder grounding into the earth and then draw your left knee across body. You stop where your shoulder starts to pick up and then drop back slightly so that it's very heavy into the earth. We don't want to push too hard here. The SI joints, really vulnerable in a lot of people, and especially because we do so much asymmetrical in yoga, you want to be really cautious of what's happening in your low back. Come back through center, hug both knees over top of the heart, and hopefully I remembered everything on each side. If I didn't, feel free to squeeze it in here, but you can rock yourself from side to side. root your tailbone down into the ground to get a little bit deeper into the lower back. And then we'll come into either roll onto your side, or I'm gonna rock and roll. I love to rock and roll. Hands to the back of the thighs, and eventually coming up into seated. And we won't be seated long. We'll press hands forward and take knees underneath hips, shoulders over top of wrists. A few cat-cows where the belly drops with your inhale, heart presses forward, crown lifts up. And exhale, chin tucks towards the heart as the shoulder blades reach towards the sky. And that press down through your palms and up through the shoulders, that's what you want in your inversions. Exhale, belly drops, lungs fill, head lifts. Or no, that's an inhale. Good job, Mel. Chin to heart. Exhale, empty, round. In breath, belly drops. Empty, round. And you'll flow through a few of those. It's really nice to close your eyes here when you're grounded, feeling safe. And the reason I brought up this press through the earth and rounding of the shoulder blades is I'm thinking we might pop into handstand towards the end of the 28 days as an option. So thinking about that press down and lots of strength through the upper back. And neutral spine. Gaze down between the thumbs. I like to bring my knee to center. Send your right leg back and drop the toes down into the earth. Once your right toes are down, you're going to press your weight through your right heel, opening up through the calf, back of the knee. Lift your right heel and take your toes over to the left side of your mat. Maybe you're even dropping your toes off your mat and taking your gaze over your left shoulder as your right hip drops in. A really good side stretch. Gaze back between the thumbs. Bring your right foot to sweep all the way around, landing to the outside of your mat. So your toes are pointing forward. And then draw from the core, stack shoulders over hips, hands rise overhead. And an exhale, side twist. Glide, side bend. Come back up through center. And over to the other side. Left hand drops down, right fingers reach overhead as the pelvis presses forward and pubic bone sort of hugs up towards belly button, protecting low back. And then hands come back overhead. We'll take the right toes and point them now towards away from the long edge of your mat. Bend your right knee, drop your arms like a grounded warrior two. Grounded side angle, right hand comes down, left hand goes up. You can use the elbow and interior of right leg to press into each other, creating a lot of tension and space. Inhale, rise. And exhale, hands come down, right knee back underneath right hip. And you may want to rock your hips from side to side. Right knee into the center, left toes go back. And you'll notice less cueing on alternate sides, just because I want you to feel your body. Just because it feels good for me does not mean it's what you need. So really listening here. And then left heel comes up, left toes go over to the right, gazing over right shoulder. I'm dropping my left hip in nice and juicy. Back through center, sweeping your foot out to the side till your foot is in line with your hip. Toes are pointing forward. Strong belly pulling up from genitals into belly button. Hands rise overhead. And side bend over to the left. Up through center, strong core, right hand down, pelvis pressing forward, pubic bone pulling up and in. Coming back through center. Left toes turn away from the body, left knee bends, arms drop out shoulder height, warrior two, but grounded. Grounded side angle, left hand goes as far as it can down to the mat. Maybe even want a block or something here. Right hand up or overhead. My body wanted this. I know I did it differently on the other side, but my body wanted to extend on this side. Come back through center, hands rise up, palms press down, and both toes are gonna tuck, lift the hips, slide your heart back. Right leg is gonna kick up and then back down. Up, back down. Up, down. 2 more times, up, squeezing glutes and hamstrings, down. Last time up, last time down. Sweep forward into plank, option to have knees down or up. You're gonna hear my breath become a little labored. Back up, downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, feet are about hip width distance apart. Soft bend through the knees so that you can draw your heart back to your thighs. Gazing back between the heels. Doesn't matter if your heels touch or not. Stop worrying about that. And also stop hating on your body and don't hate on mine. Because if you're focused on that stuff, you're not even here. So just feeling what's happening out of the mind. And then big toes come together to touch at the back of the mat. Right leg comes up. And then sweep your right foot to the outside of your right hand. High lizard. So back knee is up unless you need it to be down. You're pressing down through the palms of your hands, driving your shoulder blades up and away from the spine. Core is engaged and that nice Mula Bandha lock. That's the genitals pulling up and in. And you can see, no Mula Bandha, hips are sinking. Mula Bandha, nice and tight. It creates a float through the abdomen. Both feet step forward, heels in, toes out, as deeply as you can sink your hips down. And you may end up just like this, and that's okay. You're doing a lot more work than I am, I would say. But I'm gonna sink my hips down, push my elbows to the insides of my knees, and use my palms to keep my knees moving away from center. But I'm also gonna engage my glutes and open that up. So you can see, boop, just the squeezing of the glutes. Oh man, how am I gonna talk through this? So we'll do a few of these Malasana squats. Hips come up, knee height, and drop back down. It's kind of like you're tipping forward. Hips come up, head goes level, and back down. 3 more. I lost count, last one. And sink. Hands are gonna come down to your mat. You'll take a big step back with your right foot, high lizard. If your left toes happen to be pointing way off to the left, you wanna bring them to about maybe 11 o'clock. Both feet go back, plank. Option to vinyasa here. I'm not gonna do it. I think we'll leave that for later and then meet in downward facing dog. Hips come up, heart goes back.
Downward facing dog is a really good place to catch your breath. If you find yourself like me, breathing through an open mouth, that's actually doing more injury than it is good. Practice breathing through a closed mouth and lengthening out the exhale. Left heel kicks up and back down. Up, down. Up, squeezing hamstring and glute towards the sky, down. Up, down. Last one up, last one down. Forward into plank. I told you, we're gonna be strong. And if you're wondering, what does Kick My Asana even mean? Asana is the poses, and I thought it was really cute to make a play on words for our booty. Downward facing dog. Big toes to center, left leg kicks up, and big sweep of the knee as high as you can until you can float your foot down outside your left hand. Mula bandha locked. Right quad hugging nice and tight to the femur too, bringing lift and lightness. Both feet come forward. And I think you know where we're going. Oh, let me catch my breath first though. This is kind of intense talking while you do yoga. I usually teach and watch. Hips come up, head goes level. 1. Up, 2. Up, 3. Keep squeezing the glutes, drawing the knees back. 4. Last one, hips lift. And 5, sink back. Oh, you can tell as I'm getting weak, I'm using the strength of my arms to keep my knees open, but keep remembering, the more you're engaged here, the more you're gonna get from your practice. Hands come down, left leg kicks back, high lizard. Plank, both feet kick back. Downward facing dog. Getting to the good stuff. Big toes to center, right heel kicks up. You can bend the knee and open the hip if you'd like to come into more of a fire hydrant, but be really mindful that you're not opening your right rib to the sky. Keep it anchored down. Step your foot forward between your hands, high on the ball of the back foot. So the 5 toes of your left foot are down on your mat, but the heel is lifted. All connection points of your right foot down into your mat, knees stacked over top of ankle, and then pulling Mula Bandha up and in from the genitals, core engaged, chest lifts away from thigh, and arms reach overhead. Crescent lunge. And the more we go, the more cues I'll add into this, but I don't want to overwhelm you all at once. I want you to stay the whole 28 days. And then back heel is gonna drop down and you'll open up into warrior 2. So as the back heel drops down, your left toes turn towards the long edge of your mat. Front palm flips, back hand drops down as the front fingers reach up and over, reverse warrior. Come back through warrior 2, side angle. Let's start here. If you have a stronger practice, you can go deeper, but right forearm to right thigh, but still engaged in the core. We're not dumping. So I'm using my forearm to press down and I'm activating my shoulder in. I'm not dumping my shoulder out, so it's coming in to the socket. Left hand comes up. And our peak posture is half moon. You may need a block for this or something handy. You should try to keep that stuff close to your mat if you missed the welcome video.
So from here, I'm gonna take you into half moon. I find this transition a little clunky, but is the safest way to get into half moon. So you'll take your back foot in slightly. Right hand is gonna come down about a foot ahead of your right foot and just to the outside of it. Left hand finds left hip, and then kick your back leg up as you stand down into your right foot. So right leg is straight, back leg is kicked up through the air. You want your heel in line with your hip, and then left hand rolls your left hip up and over your right. So left toes are facing towards your left wall. And then maybe you take your left hand up. Maybe you fall out. That's okay too. Wow. Holding. If you have modifications where you want to go. We will get there by the end of the week. This isn't where we stop. And then both hands will come down just underneath the shoulders as the hips close. So left hip point looks down at your mat, and that means your baby toe is now looking down at your mat. This is a standing split. Soften your belly, heavy your head, and pick your left heel up. Both feet come to step at the top of the mat. Soft bend through the knees, forward fold. Heavy head, heavy arms, full breath. Placing your palms down, push out through the shoulder blades, and both feet step back, plank. Option 2, vinyasa. Everyone meeting in down dog. Big toes to center. Left heel kicks up. Option to open the hip, bending the knee, kicking the sole of the foot over to the right. Maybe you're even trying to get your heel to kick your right glute. Rounded spine, knee to heart. Land your foot between your hands. And stacking joints, come up. Crescent lunge. By the time we were done that side, I was like, yeah, we still have a whole nother side. Opening up warrior 2, back heel drops down, toes turn, and arms drop out shoulder height. Reversing warrior, front palm flips, and sweeps up towards the sky. You can do a bind too if you have that in your practice here. Back through warrior 2, side angle, forearm to thigh, or maybe your finger down on the ground kind of gal or guy, and then right fingers come up overhead, looking for lots of length through right side rib. No dumping of the shoulder, and breathing. Right hand to right hip. Bring your back foot in slightly. Left hand finds that sweet spot so that when you draw your left hip over your foot, your hand is underneath your shoulder. Right hip glides up and over left, and maybe you take your hand to the sky. Try not to lock into your knee. I'm noticing I'm doing that. So keep some strong activation through the quad. Both hands come down underneath the shoulders, hips close, so baby toes looking down. Head down, soft belly, heel up, standing split. If your glutes aren't on fire, write me a letter. I just want to know who you are. Both feet step forward and big fold. Lots of breath here. You can take opposite elbow from side to side.
And then hands release, strong flat back, Ardha Uttanasana, and soft folding forward Uttanasana. Another breath in, halfway lift, fold. Breathing in, strong flat back, folding. Planting your hands, either hopping or stepping back plank. And there's options for you here. You can do knees, slow lower, or inhale, lengthen forward onto the tips of your toes. Bend your elbows, heart kisses the earth first, and then completely let yourself melt down into your mat. You can take backs of your hands to your forehead. Gazing forward just to the top edge of your mat if it's not far. Hands come back, palms facing in towards the hips. Big toes zip up nice and tight. The insides of the legs are touching or attempting to. In breath, lift the heart, lift the toes. Breathing still. And release. If you took an ear, opposite ear this time. Hands go back, same position, inseam of legs, hug nice and tight together. And this time, lift head, lift heart, reach fingers for heels, but don't lift the feet. Don't hold your breath. And release. Oh, Lord. Full body lift, gaze travels forward, head lifts, feet lift, shoulder blades hugging into the spine, heels trying to magnetize together, gaze not traveling more than a few inches in front of you, breath flowing nice and steady. See if you can get a little higher. And release. Plant your palms, lift your belly, draw your toes together, sink your hips back, find child's pose. Heart heavy into the earth, forehead touching down on your mat. If you have knee issues, you can always do this from higher or roll onto your back, just like we did in the opening sequence. Aware of your breath. And any thoughts that are swarming your mind. Noticing that you can disengage from them and become more of an observer than I am my thoughts. And softly lifting, sweeping your left hip down, feet forward. One last core, and trust me, I hate it when a teacher does this, so I can feel the loathing going on. After child's pose, I think, oh, I'm in the free and clear. You can just go down to your back, but if you want a little bit more, take boat. So you can either grip the shins, lift your heart, spine nice and straight, chin gently tucked. Here's a spot, or you can lift your shins parallel with the earth, fingers reaching for the heels. It's another spot to stop, or legs are straight and fingers reaching. spine not rounding. And then slow lower down. Oh, that feels so worth it. So worth it once you come down. Let your whole body become so heavy. Option to take any last twists and really start to soften into the earth. But I'm gonna close this off here just so that you come back for more. I don't wanna take up too much time, and I have no idea how long this one was. Shavasana is so important. It's the whole goal of tiring the body. Close your eyes and let yourself rest. And you can stay here as long as you like. Really try to stay at least a few more minutes. I'm going to stop the video here. Thank you so much for participating in day one, whether you're here with us live or on the replay. I love to hear from you. Namaste.